It should not even be recommended for human consumption, even if we never lied about the sourcings. The story I'm gonna tell you is what Netflix wished they had when they made that documentary. And I'm gonna tell you now, it's way worse than just lying about steroids. Do you guys remember the liver bitch? That teenage mutant ninja turtle looking, raw balls eating piece of shit? The guy who became not just a millionaire, but a billionaire by selling people shitty supplements because they thought he wasn't taking anything, but he was really hiding the fact that he was taking steroids. You guys remember that asshole, right? Well, Netflix, they just put out a documentary telling the story how Derek exposed them for lying about those steroids, and they even put me in it a few times because they liked the way I cursed that shithead. But there was a problem with that documentary. A big fucking problem. It didn't tell us a new story, a different story. It told us all the same shit that most of us already knew about. It did tell us a couple things about his past, how he always was a scammer as a kid working at GNC, robbing people, counterfeiting money, starting a drug lab in his apartment. Well, that information was key in the story I'm going to tell you, because the story I'm going to tell you is what Netflix wished they had when they made that documentary. And I'm going to tell you now, it's way worse than just lying about steroids, making people eat raw organs, making them sick, right? Way worse than that. And you guys know me. When I say something, I'm bringing the fucking receipts. Wait until I show this to you.
Primals, I'm making this video to apologize. Because I fucked up. Because I'm embarrassed and ashamed. Because I lied. And I misled a lot of people.
So we all know the story, how Derek from More Plates, More Dates did a great job in exposing this asshole, lying about his steroid use, and he showed us all the emails. Well, always, I always believe, you catch a liar lying once, he's gonna lie a second time, a third time. I had many girlfriends that did this same kind of shit, and Liver King is no different. So to fully understand the story, let's talk about his history first. When he was a kid, 16 years old, he worked at GNC, right? And you know what he did? He took the bottles that people returned, he made up new receipts, and he returned them to another GNC store and kept the fucking money.
So my first job was at GNC. People would return stuff all the time, and they would return it pretty much empty. And I still had to give them their money back. So why don't I just take all the empty things? Then I could go to another GNC and maybe I could get money for them.
But then that wasn't good enough. So he started selling drugs, but not just selling them, making them out of his apartment. He thought he was Walter White in Breaking Bad, this asshole. So he started being a drug dealer, running around town selling kids drugs.
I also made drugs because I knew how to turn my apartment into a fucking chemistry lab. International drug trading,
But wait, it gets better. There's one fucking crime you don't want to do in the United States. It's actually worse of a penalty than killing someone. And that's counterfeiting currency, making fake money. And that's what this asshole admitted that he did.
I used to print money. A lot of it, and it all worked.
And I was thinking too, I was like, you can't even use cash in that many places. You can go to bars, you could use it in taxi cab rides, strippers, probably spent it all on sharmutas. There's not many places you can do with that fake money. But he did it anyway, not caring that he could end up in prison for the rest of his life. Well, now I'm going to tell you a little story that wasn't in the documentary, how he first started, how he first became a millionaire, because he was a millionaire already before all of this. And it wasn't from the counterfeiting money and the drugs and all the other bullshit he was doing. You know what it was? He was in the medical sales industry, one of the top salesmen in the country, right? But it wasn't because he was being a good little guy, going to the doctor's office saying, buy this, buy that. No. He was taking those medical devices and dumping them in the bottom of the fucking lake. Taking credit for sales that never actually fucking happened. So of course he's going to be the #1 sales guy. And you guys know how I know this? I'm going to tell you a little bit more here. But he used to brag about this shit to every person that worked for his fucking company. Because he was proud of it.
And the things that I continued to do, they got bigger. Some of these, unbelievable. You won't believe it.
Now all these things, like all these stories, what does that tell you about a person that's willing to lie, that's willing to steal, that's willing to scam, even feed his own family those balls raw, teaching it to people, not caring who gets sick, right? Just to make money. You're capable of a lot worse. And now this is where this story gets really interesting. His supplement company has made him not just a millionaire, right? But made him nearly a billionaire. He's worth between $700 and $800 million, which is near a billionaire, right? Well, how does he sell all those supplements? He advertises them as using some of the best sources of ingredients on the entire planet. So when people are purchasing these products, they think they're getting the best things in the entire world. His protein powder, which takes up about 70% of his sales of his company, so his #1 selling product is protein powder. And it's, again, he says it's sourced from the best materials, ingredients on earth, right? Well, he says this is grass-fed, grass-raised, no antibiotics, and all of it comes from Sweden. That's what makes it so great, right? It's the filet mignon of the protein sources. Now, what if I told you, and you guys know, I'm gonna show you how I know all this stuff, right? What if I told you none of it is from fucking Sweden? Not even 0.111% is actually from there. So the place and the #1 selling point of that product, telling people it's from Sweden because of how great this shit is, it's not even from there. It's from cheap places in the world so he can make the most money and scam his audience, not caring about their health and the dangers of what these ingredients that are actually in it could be. So people are buying this protein powder thinking they're getting some great thing, healthy thing for their body, right? But it's a piece of shit. It's like going and thinking you're buying a Mercedes, right? Because you want the best of the best. But instead, you get a Hyundai with the fucking Mercedes badge on the front. Now, like I said earlier, this business, right, has generated him over $700 million, making him a millionaire. But think of that number. Think about how many millions of people never got what they thought they were getting. And as I was saying earlier, this is way worse. Way worse than just lying about steroids, because wait until I show you what's actually in this shit. Well, now it's time to show you the receipts. And you guys know me. You guys know how I get shit, how I dig, how I don't stop, how I have ways to tap into things, right? Well, there was a lot of employees at this company, some of them at the top of the chain, working for this liver bitch company, right? And they were inquiring about what was in the ingredients because they had a suspicion that people weren't getting what they were getting. So they emailed the manufacturer and they found out what was in it. And when they found out, they started digging further and emailing other people at the company, sharing conversations on WhatsApp, and then they would take screenshots of all the stuff and start sending it to all the people that worked there. But now, before I show you this, Just so you know, all those employees who were digging, they were let go and fired from the company because they knew too much. So I found a way to get my hands on it. So it started by that curious employee. Remember I told you he was curious as something was going on, right? So he emailed the manufacturer asking, what's in this shit protein? I want to know what's in this shit. So he got back the ingredient list and he noticed none of it is from Sweden, and some of it can cause dangers to human beings if they fucking eat it. Now this is the ingredient list from the manufacturer that the employee was able to get. And this is a WhatsApp conversation between a lot of the employees where they used to talk amongst each other. So in the first part here, it says the source of the protein. U.S. origin, not Swedish. Grass-fed while weather permits, not grass-finished. Not administered hormones but antibiotics. Health and welfare of the animals is left to the individual farms and veterans. The rest of these ingredients are what is contained in his other supplements. Now this is what the employee said. My general assessment based on this information is as follows. The whole feast is a product of 9 countries with varying levels of regulatory oversight. It's not grass finished and in many cases not even grass fed. Each scoop is a product of likely tens of thousands of cows. There would be no way to effectively test the nutrient density of the whole feast with a single scoop, as every one will be different. But the law of averages would see the peptide and fat-soluble nutrient content can be negligible. The omega-6 and omega-3 ratio is going to be somewhere in this range, roughly 10 times optimal, and serves the render of the whole feast an inflammatory product. There are likely to be antibiotics and other possible administrations to the cows. As an athlete, I would not consume this product as is. I'm incredibly frustrated on a personal level. We charge premium prices for a product that is not currently premium. Further, I've spent the better part of 3 years telling the world this is premium, anti-inflammatory, nutrient-dense product, and beknownst to me, it has not been as advertised. We need to do 3 things. Change the message immediately, change course and create the product we've always advertised, create accurate packaging in order. Now he raised these concerns to a new person who came to help run that company. His name was Rishi, right? And you know what Rishi did? He didn't say, let's fix this, there must be a problem. No, he says, don't email me about it, right? And never mention this again. So this is that email that employee sent Chris Ricci, that asshole, with his concerns about what he found in the manufacturer's list. And this is how it starts, doubling down on the whole feast from a marketing messaging perspective, but this is conditional. I'm not going to read the entire thing here, but I want you to see the important parts. If you take a look here, he says, we cannot drive this forward until we remedy the sourcing issue that I'll discuss below. Now here we're going to go into the good stuff. These are areas where we're screwing up that I believe we could stifle progress and in one case sink the ship. Sourcing that undermines everything we ever stood for. For a now undetermined period of time, we have been lying to the customer and serving them a product I would never personally consume. I had suspicions since last week, but it became evident to me this week. A single scoop of the whole feast has always been advertised as grass-fed, grass-finished product of Sweden and New Zealand for the organs. If it were as advertised, and I don't know at this point if it would ever was, and it makes me sick to my stomach. It would be nutrient-dense, autoimmune fighting, anti-inflammatory product with an omega ratio somewhere in the ballpark of the optimal 1.4 to 2.1 that should be recommended for all people with all goals under all conditions, including all maladies. But being that a single scoop is a product of 9 countries with various levels of regulatory oversight and tens of thousands of cows with 0% from Sweden and 0.4% from New Zealand, not grass finished, and in some cases not even grass fed, possibly given antibiotics and with a suboptimal and very inflammatory omega-6 ratio, it should not even be recommended for human consumption. Even if we never lied about the sourcing or advertised it as nutrient dense, No one in good conscience would believe it's okay to provide a terrible product. So once Chris Rishi, that asshole, once he saw the email response, this is what he said. For as long as I've been in this business, I've never received an email like this. We will talk on Monday. These types of conversations are not suited for emails. And shortly after, he was let go, like I was saying, and many other employees were let go from the company because they knew too fucking much. So the company, with the new head, Rishi, this asshole, they tried to bury the information and hide the fact that this was going on from the employees, right? And anyone that they thought would speak, they fucking got rid of them. And again, when it's shared with dozens and dozens of people, of course I'm going to get my fucking hands on it. So as I said from the beginning of this video when I was telling this whole story, a liar is a liar, will always be one. A scammer is a scammer, and a piece of shit will always be a piece of shit. And if this is not a story that proves that, I don't know what else is. You look at what he did from the beginning as a kid, scamming the GNC, then selling drugs to people, not caring if it kills them, then counterfeiting money, running around town, spending it on sharmutas like a little asshole, and then to these days, lying about steroids, and not only lying about steroids to sell people these supplements that they thought was the fucking filet mignon, the Mercedes, right? But it never was. It was all a fucking scam, and none of it is what he advertised it to be. So if he was always willing to do all those things in his past life, does this surprise anybody? No. And he was a piece of shit back then, but he's even now a bigger piece of shit.
I fully own that I fucked up. I am as sorry as a man can be. And all I can do is take extreme ownership right now, be better, and lead myself to a better life as a better human. Again, thank you to everyone for the support, the criticism, the love, the hate, and above all else, the loyalty. Liver King. Out.
Wait, one last thing. I just remembered something. You remember Derek, who exposed the piece of shit, for scamming the steroid stuff originally? Well, he has a supplement company. I'm not sponsored by them, but I fucking eat his bar every morning because it's good shit, right? Well, he knows how to scientifically dismantle people's ingredients. So Derek, if you're watching this, I think you should go look at that ingredient list from his manufacturer. See how it says all dangerous shit that it does to human beings, so we know what this piece of shit is actually selling to people. Guys, thanks for watching. Please hit like on my video.